I kicked the bucket on my kid's birthday. Ethan's out in the sticks volunteering with his first crush. My boy gave him a ring to say I wasn't holding up well. Ethan didn't buy it and just hung up cold. Later on, he saw my ashes in Oliver's hands and totally lost it. The machines by my bed were making these constant dripping noises, and I shut my eyes for good. Oliver bawled his eyes out while the doctors were scrambling to keep me alive. But I was gone. Just an hour ago, Oliver had called Ethan, saying I wasn't doing great and wanted to see him one last time. Ethan, being all sarcastic, was like, "What kind of games is your mom playing now?" I had breast cancer, and by the time it was found, it was way too late. Multiple times I tried to reach out to Ethan, but he kept cutting me off. Today was Oliver's birthday, and I was hoping Ethan would come back so we could celebrate as a family since my time was almost up. But he shot down that small request. Oliver held onto my body, not wanting to let go. I wanted to give him some comfort, but my spirit just drifted away from him uncontrollably. I showed up next to Ethan. At the airport, sweat was dripping down his face. He was panting hard. When he saw Maya, he quickly apologized for being late. Maya was his first love, always kept a special place in his heart. "It's all good. First time volunteering in the countryside and lucky to have you with me." Maya smiled sweetly. Her classy white dress highlighted her elegant figure. Ethan, seeing her, was filled with warmth and affection, naturally taking her bags and grinning. So ironic, I kicked the bucket in the hospital while he was busy volunteering with his first love. His tenderness never extended to me. Ethan and Maya have been tight since they were kids. If Maya hadn't gone abroad back then, none of this would have happened. On that chilly flight, Maya was shivering, hugging herself. Ethan immediately took off his jacket and threw it over her. I couldn't help but laugh at myself, knowing that coat was made just for him. The place they were heading to volunteer was a super remote mountain village. By the time they landed, it was getting dark. They found a small diner to chill, Maya from a fancy background, acting a bit snobbish. Even though Ethan also came from a well-off family, he didn't show any of that typical high-class arrogance, which was one of the reasons I liked him. But with Maya in front of him, he grabbed a napkin, bent down to clean her chair multiple times. He gently pulled out her seat and even made sure her utensils were warmed with hot water. I thought he was someone who didn't get tenderness. But now, it seems his tenderness is only reserved for Maya. At this point, I wanted to bail, didn't want to stick around and get mentally tortured by them. But no matter how hard I tried to leave, my spirit seemed tethered, closely following them. I've tried numerous times, but couldn't let go. Feels like even the heavens wanted to mess with me. At the hotel, Ethan and Maya's rooms were right next to each other. Ethan rubbed his forehead, exhausted, lying on the bed, pulled out his phone, and finally remembered to turn it on. Tons of missed calls. They were from Oliver using my phone. He frowned, a hint of impatience on his face, thinking about calling back when a knock came on the door. Maya, with teary eyes, her voice a bit pleading. "Ethan, can I crash here tonight? I'm scared of thunder." I thought, sure, it's raining outside, but the thunder's probably not as loud as Ethan's snoring. This wasn't cool. Didn't expect Ethan to say no. "Ethan, I'm really scared. Can't sleep alone." She was almost in tears. "How'd you manage to live so long without sleeping during storms?" I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Do guys really dig this type of scheming girl? Sure enough, Ethan seemed to soften and nodded a bit. I really wanted to float away. Couldn't stand seeing them get cozy. Ethan had booked a king-size bed and asked the staff for an extra blanket and pillow. "You sleep on the bed, I'll take the floor," he said, spreading the blanket and pillow on the floor and lying down. Such a show. Maybe he's just nervous seeing his first love? Nah, when he was with me, he was confident. Maya looked visibly shocked, bit her lip, staring at Ethan with a hurt look. "Ethan, do you really not want me?" As she spoke, she unbuttoned her shirt, showing the lace bra underneath. Her fair skin, lit up by the light, had a seductive shine. She leaned closer to Ethan, almost pressing her whole body against him. Ethan sat up abruptly, pushing her away with both hands. "Maya, this isn't right." There was a hint of annoyance in his tone. Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. She bit her lip in distress, looking pitiful. "Ethan, are you disgusted by me?" As she spoke, tears streamed down her cheeks. Ethan, looking at her like this, felt irritation rise up. He rubbed his temples and said in a deep voice, "I don't hate you. It's just we're not the same as before." Maya seemed taken aback, stunned. Without paying her any more attention, Ethan lay back down, turning his back to her. Maya didn't accept this, crawled to the floor, and hugged Ethan from behind. "Ethan, I know you still have feelings for me. You married Rose in anger back then, but now we can start fresh." As she spoke, her restless hands started exploring Ethan's body. Ethan grabbed her hand firmly, his voice cold. "If you keep this up, then just go back to your own room and sleep." Is he flipping out again? Maya was shocked by his icy tone, struggled for a second, then climbed back onto the bed. Watching the scene made my blood pressure skyrocket. The anxiety in my heart eased. I didn't want to see my husband and another woman reenact a love affair. Maya's teasing kept Ethan tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep. He pulled out his phone again, thought for a moment, and opened our chat. The chat was left around our son's birthday, the day after tomorrow. "Can you join us to celebrate?" I used to send him several messages every day, and he would save them up and reply with a simple, This time, it had been a few days since I messaged him, which might have seemed off. So after some thought, he typed a string of words in the text box. "Sorry, can I make it up to our son when I get back?" His handsome brows furrowed. Then he deleted the message and typed again. "Did you see my black suit jacket?" I snickered. Wasn't the jacket he mentioned draped over Maya during the day? Was he trying to provoke me? He decisively closed his phone and shut his eyes. I couldn't figure out, what was he trying to do? The remote village where they were volunteering was super secluded, and the village chief greeted them with a big smile. "Professor Ethan, it's awesome you're here to teach the kids." Ethan had quickly finished his master's and PhD degrees. If it wasn't for Maya, he wouldn't have come here to volunteer. The kids were pumped to see their new teacher. Maya pulled out snacks from her bag to share with everyone. One energetic kid boldly approached Maya and asked, "Are you and Ethan a couple?" Hearing this, no one in the room spoke, and Maya smiled as she looked at Ethan. It seemed like everyone was waiting for him to confirm. He didn't deny it. The kid then said, "Teacher Maya, you're so pretty. You and Ethan must be dating." Maya happily patted the child's head. "You're still young. Do you even get what boyfriend and girlfriend mean?" Of course I do. I just felt a chill in my heart. Thinking about it, if it wasn't for me, Ethan and Maya would have been together ages ago. It was me who held them back. After more than 2 weeks, Ethan and Maya really seemed like a couple, teaching during the day and having deep convos at night. During this time, our son called Ethan several times, but he didn't answer. Our son sent him loads of texts saying, "Come back quick, I'm not here anymore." The last message was a threat, saying if Ethan didn't come back, the father-son bond would be broken. Ethan's handsome brows furrowed, mocking Rose. "So you're dying for me to come back, willing to make our son lie?" Our son always reasoned. He wouldn't have said such things if he hadn't been pushed to his limit. He must have thought I got our son to say those things. Immediately, he blocked my number. "What's up?" Maya came over and handed him a bottle of water. "Nothing. Is it Rose? Is she pushing you to go back?" She looked upset again. "I'm sorry, Ethan. Because of me, Rose got the wrong idea, causing issues between you two. Don't overthink it. It's none of your business. But you came here to volunteer with me, so she must feel weird about it." Although she said this, I could see the smugness in her eyes. Then she changed her tone. "But don't worry, I'm a woman, and women get each other best. Just ignore her for a few days, let her cool down, then head home and buy a little gift to make up for it." In the past, when I threw a tantrum, Ethan would buy me a small gift and I'd be easily appeased. But I will never accept your gifts again. I remember when I got bullied by classmates as a kid, scared and hiding in a corner, Ethan came over and handed me a candy. He said not to be scared, he'd talk to the teacher with me. I was shy since childhood. Even when bullied, couldn't speak up. He was like a light in my darkness, shining on me. From that moment, I quietly fell for him. Ethan had great academic records, and to follow his lead, I studied hard into the night. Finally, we both got into the same uni. But Maya was already by his side back then. They were so compatible. I stepped back into the corner, silently wishing them well. On our graduation day, Maya went abroad and Ethan got drunk. I walked up to him, gathered my courage, and confessed my feelings. His handsome lips curved into a smile. I couldn't believe it. My eyes popped. From then on, I boldly appeared in front of him, doing everything to please him. I asked if he only agreed to be with me because Maya left. He smiled and said that eventually we'd get married and have kids, so it's better to be with someone less noticeable. Less noticeable. My heart hurt, but I told myself that as long as he accepted me, I'd slowly warm his heart. Ethan is a kind person, even if he doesn't love someone. He stays humble and respectful. After we got hitched, he never treated me badly financially. Every birthday and holiday, he always got perfect gifts. As a husband, he was flawless. Later, we had our own kid, and he took on the duties of a dad too. To outsiders, we were the happiest family of 3. Over the years, he has indeed been good to me, so good that I forgot he doesn't actually love me. I thought I had walked into his world until Maya came back. Everything shifted. He became anxious and uneasy. That night, we had our first big fight. He said he needed to take time off to teach in the countryside. I asked why he needed to teach there when he wasn't a new teacher. He dodged eye contact and impatiently said, "Don't ask too many questions. Is it 'cause Maya is coming back?" His recent strange behavior had made me suspicious, and I accidentally saw a message on his phone. Maya's coming to work at their school. I pretended to stay cool, but he actually wanted to accompany that woman to the countryside. Ethan was born into a rich family and had never faced such hardships, yet he was willing to do it for Maya. Or maybe he just wanted to be alone with Maya. Rose, don't overthink it. I'm just going to help her out. She's a young gal going to the countryside, and I'm worried. He rubbed his forehead, acting like I was being unreasonable. Worried? Then have you been worried about me all these years? I bit my lip, tears swirling in my eyes. Ethan stayed silent, and I ran back to the room in tears. He didn't follow. That night, I couldn't sleep at all. I took out the medical report from the drawer. At that time, the doctor pulled me aside and told me something that shocked me to the core. I had breast cancer. I begged the doctor not to tell Ethan because I was scared of worrying him. He quietly accepted chemotherapy alone. Now that Maya is back, will he divorce me? I spent a few days in a daze. On our son's birthday, the doctor told me time was up. I hoped Ethan would stay to be with us. When Oliver called him, he was rushing to the airport. Hearing Oliver say I wasn't doing well, he sarcastically asked on the phone, "What kind of tricks is your mom up to now?" I could tell he was anxious. Oliver was about to respond when the call was cut off. Calling again, the response was, "The number you're trying to reach is switched off." He really didn't want to be bothered. Or maybe he was just too eager to be alone with his first love. He's just too eager to be alone with his first love. Ethan, you're truly heartless. That's your boy. If you don't trust me, at least believe his words. Maybe because I gave birth to him, he doesn't care as much. I think if it was Maya, he wouldn't act this way. The housekeeper, Teresa, called Ethan, saying she hadn't seen me and Oliver for over half a month. Ethan coldly replied on the phone, "Don't worry about it. They'll come back when they've had enough fun." In the past, whenever Ethan and I had a minor fight, I would take our son to my mom's place for a few days. My mom always advised us to make up, and once I calmed down, I'd return with our son. He must have thought I was just being stubborn. After a few days, I'd go back as usual, feeling embarrassed, and apologize to him. But not this time. I hadn't been home for over half a month. "Ethan, don't you have any heart?" Our usually obedient son said something decisive to you. "Can't you see it? That woman named Rose is dead. No one's here anymore to message you every day and care about what you do." Tears welled up in my eyes. How much I wished to tell Ethan, "Please come back. Just take one look at our son. He must be in so much pain." "Sir, forgive me for being blunt, but ma'am has always cared deeply for you." Teresa sighed. "For so many years, I've seen how she always put you first. Although I don't know what happened between you two, ma'am, she truly loves you. Between husband and wife, there shouldn't be grudges lingering. Whatever the issue, it's best to talk it out. I hope you can cherish this marriage." Teresa doesn't know I'm gone. It seems our son must have gone back to my mom's place. Thinking of my mom, who has aged while seeing off the young, a pang of sadness hit me. Impatiently, Ethan hung up the phone, seeming to be in a bad mood. When Maya came to see him, he was sitting on a stone bench smoking. Smoking is bad. She walked over and naturally took the cigarette from his fingers. Ethan, why you so stressed? Still mad at Rose for throwing a fit? She reached out and lifted Ethan's chin, forcing him to look into her eyes. Her fair and slender fingers gently touched his face, her gaze full of love and tenderness. Why get mad over that kind of woman? That kind of woman? Hearing that, Ethan furrowed his brows and turned away. He seemed to hate Maya calling me that. Maya didn't back off despite Ethan's avoidance. Instead, she moved closer to him. Her voice was soft, with a hint of seductive charm. Ethan, don't you get it yet? Only I truly understand you. A sudden weird restlessness surged in Ethan's heart. He suddenly stood up, shaking off Maya's hand. Understand me? If you understood me, you wouldn't have left me behind to study abroad back then. Maya was shocked by his reaction, but quickly regained her composure and softly said, I know, I messed up back then, but… Ethan interrupted with a cold laugh. No need to say more. Rose is my wife. I hope you show some respect when talking about her. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving Maya standing there, stunned. A trace of resentment and unwillingness flashed in her eyes, but she quickly hid it. This was the first time Ethan had spoken harshly to Maya. Maybe he couldn't let go of the fact that Maya had left him and went to the States back then. Ethan's mood became more agitated, and he didn't know why he felt like this. He pulled out his phone, searched for a while, only to realize that he had blocked me. He opened the WeChat chat box, and it was still the same message about our son's birthday that brought him back. This time, he didn't hesitate, typed a quick apology, saying he would make it up to our son when I returned. After sending it, he sighed in relief and put his phone back in his pocket. Every class he would take it out to check. Even during class, if the phone vibrated, he immediately stopped teaching and quickly checked. It was just an ad. Disappointed, he closed it again. I couldn't help but smile in midair. Was he changing his mind? Was he so eager for my reply? Until nightfall, the phone stayed silent. Ethan thought the signal was bad in the mountains, so he went outside alone, refreshing the chat box while walking. Childish and ridiculous. The next day, Maya woke up early, wearing Ethan's black coat. Ethan, this coat looks really good on you. She stood in front of the mirror, striking various poses, seemingly loving the current vibe. Ethan lay on the bed, watching Maya's back, a hint of complex emotions in his eyes. Rubbing his temples, he sat up and put on his clothes. Maya, let's talk, he said as he approached her. Maya seemed surprised by his words. Hesitated for a second, then nodded. Sitting on the couch, Ethan looked at her and said in a serious tone, Maya, we can't go back to the past. Tears welled up in Maya's eyes. She bit her lip, looking at him with a hurt look. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have been so stubborn and left you, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. Seeing her like this, Ethan felt helpless. He sighed and said, Maya, we're not kids anymore. We should take responsibility for our actions. Maya seemed taken aback by his words, froze in place. Ethan stood up, walked to the window, and gazed outside. Maya, I hope you can find your own happiness, he said before turning and leaving. Watching him walk away, Maya's eyes flashed with reluctance. But soon, she softened towards Ethan. She admitted that she shouldn't have said what she did yesterday. Ethan's demeanor softened. I should be the one apologizing. I had a bad attitude yesterday. I'm sorry. In my mind, Ethan is a man with excellent manners. Even when angry, he stays humble and polite. Yesterday, he acted out of character. During the 3-month teaching program, Ethan asked to shorten it to 1.5 months, citing personal matters. Did he sense something was wrong? Time flew, and he returned home with Maya. As soon as they arrived, Teresa anxiously told him, Sir, you're finally back. The school called to say the young master has been absent for over a month, and they couldn't reach ma'am on the phone. I was afraid to disturb you at work, so I didn't call again. Teresa and I always had a good relationship, But she was just an employee and feared upsetting Ethan, possibly leading to her quitting. Ethan's expression turned grim. He immediately took out his phone and removed my number from the blacklist. He dialed, but it showed an outstanding balance. In a rush, he topped up the account with 1,000 win. Upon dialing again, a message said, "Apologies, the number you have dialed is switched off." He pulled up our chat and quickly typed, "Have you had enough arguing with Oliver? Come back soon." To this day, he still thinks I ran away from home with our son in a fit of anger. Ethan, I wonder what your expression will be when you see my ashes. Will you be sad? At least I've been with him for 7 years. Even if I say he's just a dog, there should be some feelings, right? Ethan, will you regret it? Regret not seeing me one last time? Ethan sent me many messages, but I didn't reply to any of them. Maya saw that he was absent-minded and comforted him. Don't worry, Rose is all grown up now. Nothing will happen to her. They must be traveling with Oliver to relax. Ethan's slightly furrowed brow relaxed a bit at her words. Every year, I would take Oliver on a trip, but only during the summer. Ethan, if you had a bit of care for me and your son, you'd know Maya's words are just to appease you. Maybe he knew, but just chose not to dwell on it. He packed his books and went to class as usual. These days, during the day, Ethan kept teaching his students with a smile. But at night, he was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. He took out his phone and repeatedly scrolled through our chat records. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore, frantically calling and messaging me. But the only response he got was the cold, automated voice. Me? But the only response he got was the cold, automated voice. The chat box was still filled with messages from him. Seeing no response from me, he became desperate. Rose, if you don't come back soon, we're getting a divorce. He finally said it. It was something he had wanted to do all along. With a bitter smile, I thought I would grant your wish, but you didn't give me the time. After typing that, Ethan seemed uneasy, then changed it to, I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone to the mountains to teach with Maya. Rose, where are you? Please don't be angry. Come back with our son. This was the first time Ethan had softened towards me. Seeing his anxious and helpless expression, I felt a sense of satisfaction. The next day, Ethan didn't go to work. He went straight to my mom's place. When he saw our son again, he had lost a lot of weight at such a young age, had a mature look of hardship on his face. My heart broke. He must have felt like his world was falling apart. His beloved mother passed away, and his father was ignoring him. My mom's eyes were red and swollen, her vision slightly blurred, probably from crying too much lately, damaging her eyes. When they saw Ethan, they were as cold and distant as strangers. What are you doing here? Where's Rose? Oliver, why did you skip school? Did your mom not let you go? To this day, he still thinks I'm the one influencing our son not to go to school. How ridiculous. Can't this man see Oliver and my mom's attitudes? Does he really not feel that I'm no longer here? I wish Oliver and my mom wouldn't tell him about my death. Let him think I'm still alive. Ethan, you just live in self-blame and regret. How dare you show up, Ethan? My mom said coldly. Mom, where's Rose? Where is she? Ethan, Rose has passed away. Why are you looking for her? My mom said angrily. Mom, what are you talking about? Ethan didn't believe it at all. You're lying. How could Rose die? She even invited me to celebrate Oliver's birthday together. Mom, with a tearful voice, she said coldly. Rose passed away from breast cancer, and the day she left happened to be Oliver's birthday. She kept her cancer a secret from you, afraid you'd worry, forbidding me from telling you. But you were out there enjoying yourself with your lover, not even willing to call back. Rose kept mentioning your name until she died. She couldn't rest in peace. She won't die. I haven't agreed to it yet. Ethan collapsed on the ground, looking dazed, muttering to himself, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. It's impossible. I don't believe it. He kept mumbling. Ethan sat blankly on the ground, eyes hollow, devoid of any spirit. His son Oliver slapped a diagnosis report on his face. This is Mom's diagnosis. Take a look yourself. Ethan picked it up from the ground, flipping through a few pages. His hands were shaking so much he could barely hold it. He sobbed and said to Oliver, "Breast cancer can be cured. Where's your mom? Let's go get her treated together. Let's find the best doctors for her. Tell me, where's your mom?" Oliver pointed to a small box on the dining table. There. The air froze for a moment. Ethan's pupils dilated continuously. "It's impossible. You're lying to me. You're all lying to me." Oliver shook his head frantically, tears in his eyes, crying out, "You must be doing this on purpose, conspiring with Rose to deceive me, right? Not funny at all. Tell me quickly, where's your mom?" He nearly hysterically yelled at his son. Oliver then threw a cremation agreement at him. "Take a look for yourself." Ethan flip-decked through the agreement, shockingly reading, "Rose to be cremated." Oliver angrily pushed him away. Perhaps not having slept well these days, Ethan was pushed back a few steps, hitting the door frame. His eyes hollow, face pale, as if his soul had been sucked away. He panicked. He finally knew that I was already dead. He finally knew what it felt like to be in a hurry, but what difference does it make? I will never come back again. Trembling, he walked step by step to my ashes. Carefully lifting them up, he then knelt down. I'm sorry." My mom snatched the ashes box away. "What right do you have to repent here? Get out." "Mom, please give Rose back to me." He cried so much that snot was coming out, holding onto my mom's leg. "Ethan, back then, you treated Rose's feelings for you so badly, neglecting your wife and son, running off to teach with your lover. Are you worthy of being a husband and a father?" The more my mom spoke, the more agitated she became, raising her hand to slap him. Ethan didn't dodge. 5 clear fingerprints appeared on his cheek, with a hint of blood at the corner of his mouth. "Looks like my mom was really angry." Oliver ran over, questioning him. "I called you so many times, sent you so many messages. Why didn't you respond? Do you know Mom was calling out your name before she died? If it weren't for you, Mom wouldn't have died with regret. From today, you are no longer my dad. Leave." Oliver was crying so hard that it was heartbreaking for me. The only one I worry about in this world is him. He's so obedient and sensible. What will happen to him without his mother's care in the future? And my mom, my dad passed away early. She only has me as a daughter. Now that I'm gone, how will she spend the rest of her life? Watching my mom and Oliver crying together, my heart ached terribly. Ethan tried to reach for my ashes box again, but my mom stopped him. "Get out. Never appear in front of me again." My mom glared at him with disgust, then walked away with the ashes box. Oliver also glared at him with red eyes, then followed. Ethan knelt alone in place, looking desolate like a piece of wood. He hung his head low, shoulders trembling, letting out suppressed sobs. He wanted my ashes, my mom said. Only if she died when Ethan left, handed him a divorce agreement. It was carefully prepared while I was still alive. Maya's return, like a warning, foretold the end of my marriage with Ethan. And as for myself, diagnosed with cancer, I chose to let go. Perhaps the best choice for everyone. On our son's birthday, I had hoped Ethan would come to spend that special day together and hand him the divorce agreement. However, he never showed up. Ethan, have you ever felt a hint of regret? If you had shown up earlier, maybe you could have accepted the agreement with a clear conscience and spent the rest of your life with your first love. The son questioned him. Mom always thought for you until her death, but what about you? For the sake of being with your lover, you didn't even see Mom for the last time. For so many years, Mom had only you in her heart and eyes. Since you don't love Mom, why did you marry her in the first place? Ethan fell silent, perhaps truly unsure how to respond. Returning home, he locked himself in his room, staring at the wedding photo on the bedside. The woman in the photo had a radiant smile, as if the whole world existed in her smile. He gently touched the woman in the photo, tears silently streaming down his face. He repeated, "I'm sorry," over and over again, but I could no longer hear his apologies, nor see his tears. I left this world forever with a heart full of regret and reluctance. It's truly ironic not knowing how to cherish when alive, only to act out deep emotions and regrets after death. Ethan's messages kept flooding my chat box. "Wife, where have you gone? They said you've passed away? I don't believe it. You must be hiding somewhere from me, right? Wife, please come back, okay? I miss you, my wife. Every message made me sick to the point of almost vomiting. Ethan never addressed me like this before, never had such tenderness. But I'm already dead. Who are all these actions for? Ethan seemed to be falling into some kind of madness. He stood on the stage, often telling his students that his wife would come to pick him up soon, so he couldn't run late. The students listened in horror. Wasn't Ethan's wife already deceased? What was happening to Ethan? Even the dean personally came to persuade him to go home and rest, but he stubbornly refused. He said he needed to earn money to support his wife and kids. Everyone said he had gone mad. In the end, Ethan was forced to stop teaching. On that day, Maya came to visit him. She tried to comfort him, saying that the dead cannot be brought back to life. You must mourn. But when Ethan saw Maya, it was as if he had seen an enemy. He abruptly grabbed the fruit knife on the table and viciously stabbed at her. He cursed her fiercely, saying, "It's all your fault. If you hadn't tempted me, I wouldn't have gone to teach in the countryside. Rose wouldn't have died. It's you who killed my Rose. Go to hell!" I was scared by his sudden actions and quickly found a place to hide. Then I remembered I was already dead. They couldn't see me. Maya clutched her stomach in pain, eyes filled with disbelief. "Ethan, have you gone mad?" "Yes, I have gone mad." Maya's pristine dress was stained red with fresh blood. The nanny, Teresa, witnessed this scene and quickly called the police and an ambulance. As Maya was lifted into the ambulance, her eyes were filled with resentment and unwillingness. In the end, Ethan was diagnosed with schizophrenia and delusional disorder and was sent to a mental hospital. He often sat alone on the floor, spending entire days like that. Sometimes he would be active, telling people everywhere about his wife, how much she loved him. If people ignored him, he would beg them to listen. At night, he would quietly take out his phone and text me, "Wife, tomorrow is Oliver's birthday. Shall we have dinner together as a family?" "Wife, Oliver always ignores me. Could you please talk to him for me?" "Wife, I'm craving the braised fish you used to make." "Wife, why are you ignoring me too?" It seems he has truly gone mad. After Ethan was hospitalized, my mom moved with Oliver. She didn't want to see Ethan again, nor did she want Oliver to be influenced by him. In her own way, she protected the only bloodline left to me. And Ethan, he lost all of us. And he lost his own soul. He could never go back to the past, never find the happiness we once had. All of this he brought upon himself. He accompanied his first love to teach in the countryside, never expecting that in the end, he would destroy his own family and ruin his life. If only time could turn back, he would surely choose to stay by my and Oliver's side, guarding our happiness. But alas, time cannot be reversed. Everything is beyond repair now. I can only watch him silently from heaven. People always realize their regrets only after losing something. Ethan's extra story. Since I was young, I was taught by my family to treat people with respect. I always admired Maya, but she chose to break up with me to study abroad. I was heartbroken and in pain, but in the end, I wished her a bright future. Rose suddenly confessed her feelings for me, and I didn't dislike her. If a person's life ultimately leads to marriage and having children, it's better to choose a suitable wife. After marrying Rose, I tried to be a good husband, and when we had kids, I strove to be a good father. I thought my life would continue on calmly like this. Maya suddenly returned to the country, interrupting my thoughts. Seeing her again, that hidden feeling in my heart resurfaced completely. As an intern, she was going to teach in the countryside, and I inexplicably agreed to accompany her. Rose has been acting erratically recently, even snooping through my phone. Because of the teaching trip, she had a big argument with me for the first time. She even made Oliver lie to me, saying she was not doing well. It's ridiculous. When did this woman become so jealous? Accompanying Maya to teach, I just wanted to bid farewell to my past self completely. When Maya showed me affection, I thought of Rose and decisively rejected her. Oliver called me many times and sent many messages. I guess that woman, Rose, must have instigated him. "She really doesn't trust me like this," the nanny called, saying she hadn't seen them, mother and son, for over half a month, which puzzled me. This woman has such a bad temper. It's been so many days, and she still hasn't come home. I worked during the day, feeling a bit worried at night, hesitated, and then messaged her. She didn't reply? Oh well, I'll keep working. Back home, the nanny said the school called to say Oliver had been absent for many days. I panicked. My heart was in turmoil. I rushed to my mother in law's place, saw my son, and my anxious heart finally settled down. But they told me Rose was dead. I didn't believe it. My son brought out the medical report and the cremation agreement. I was completely stunned. I couldn't believe that Rose, that woman, was already dead. I never imagined she would completely leave my side. I felt like I was falling into an abyss, scared and fearful. I was in such pain that I couldn't breathe. How much I hated myself for not even seeing her one last time. I didn't understand her at all, missing the news of her death time and again. I wanted to take a knife and stab myself. My mind was in turmoil, and when Maya came to see me, I don't know why, but I stabbed her with a knife. I felt like everything was her fault. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have missed celebrating my son's birthday together, and I wouldn't have missed seeing Rose for the last time. I was locked up in a mental hospital, and I heard that Maya was saved, but her nerves were damaged, leaving her partially paralyzed. As for me, I often chat with fellow patients. Most of the time, I talk and they listen. I tell them about my wife, who loved me so, so much. She's still waiting for me to come back home.